Hi, Olivia.
Hello, Martin. Thank you for having me today.
Pleasure. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself, Olivia, and tell us who you
Sure.
are, what you do?
Okay, so hello. My name is Olivia Downing, and I work as a creative copywriter at TBWA Manchester. I also founded CIA Chicks and Advertising, which is an event in Manchester and Leeds. And yeah, I guess I'm kind of active here in the creative and advertising circles of the Northwest.
That's great. The theme of Creative North is collaboration. Can you just give us a top line, headline? What collaboration means to you? What does that word say to you?
I think it's an interesting term, and I think it is bandied about a lot. But what I think people don't often think about is that it involves an element of introspection to be collaborative. So for me, all the pieces of work that I've worked on that have been very collaborative and that I'm proud of has actually been me kind of looking at my skill set and looking at what I can do and thinking, actually, you know what, I'm not the best cut out person to do this job, but I know a videographer who is, or I know a sound engineer who is, or I know a designer who is. And I think to be truly collaborative, we have to be very self-aware of what we are good at and the times where we should speak out and put our opinions forward and when we're not. So that's what collaboration means to me. It's absolutely recognizing what you can and can't do, and not being, not letting your ego get in the way of reaching out to the people who are maybe have more expertise in their field than you do.
Good answer. I like that. Thank you.
Next question.
Next question. So, you were going to do one of our 10-minute speaker slots, and I'd just like to imagine now you're stood at the Royal Exchange in front of your audience.
Oh yes.
And just share with us now just some of the themes you'd have talked about and areas you'd have talked about in your presentation.
Sure. Well, I mean, as we were just talking about previously, I recently won an award with the Drum Roses, and that was for a piece of radio work that I wrote and collaborated with the brilliant sound engineers at the farm. And that one, and there was a comment piece from the judge on that work, which was saying that the reason why they chose this piece of work was because it was particularly funny, and they felt that would have the maximum cut through in a space where there isn't a lot of humorous radio ads, for example. What I really wanted to talk about in my talk, which I think was called "Are You Having a Laugh?" Is my experience being an ex-comedian. I used to perform comedy in Paris and in Manchester, and about how comedy and humour are intrinsic, almost superhuman things. And what I mean by that is I've always been fascinated by humour in general, but we're the only beings that laugh. And what laughter actually means as a social signifier is, I am enjoying this exchange and I want to carry on doing this with you. And so for me, when I made the transition from doing comedy as a job to being a full-time advertising creative, what I couldn't understand was why clients particularly were always so reticent to use humour in their work, because they were worried that people wouldn't get it, or it might be offensive, or if you know what I mean. And I guess ultimately what I wanted to say was, and I have said, gosh, in multiple talks that I've done, but what do you send to your friends is what I would say to those people, to those marketing managers who are nervous. What do you send to your friends? Do you send them a sad piano piece case study from Cannes, or do you send them cat videos and funny memes and things that you've seen on the internet? Humans like humour because, as I've just said, it's a really intrinsic, really innate human thing. And that's why pieces of work that are funny, particularly in marketing and advertising circles, have got endless more cut through and endless more recall than things that don't. And so, I mean, actually, it's particularly pertinent now because we're in a global pandemic, and there are a lot of, really good earnest messages out there about, sanitation and being healthy, staying alert, all of that. But what's really inspired me actually is all the TikToks that have been made kind of on the back of the global pandemic, and the ways that people have reacted in a humorous way. One of the things that I've spoken recently to Social Chain about, I did a podcast about creativity in the aftermath of all this. And Theo, the interviewer, asked me, is it all right to have a laugh about this? And I think that, I guess this is humor in a macrocosm, but what I guess the point still stands whether you're being funny within a global pandemic or just being funny in a normal day-to-day market. It's about laughing with something instead of laughing at it. I think, as you well know, Martin, as a copywriter, tonality here is hugely important, and it's about getting that balance right between, slapstick, or is it something that's a little bit more witty. All of humour is so nuanced, and I think that's mainly why marketers, for the longest time have been quite scared to pursue that, because there are so many nuances and ways to get it wrong. But I wish that if there was one thing, I guess, that people would have taken away from my talk about being funny, is that I wish that marketing managers and client services people would just allow their agencies to come to them with those humorous answers, and trust them as well. I know that that's scary, and I know that there can be certainly things like brand on the line, but the beauty of the modern age, I personally think, is that if you put something out, particularly online, and it doesn't get the response that you want, you can just take it down and you don't have to deal with that running for the longest period of time. So yeah, that would be my summary of why humor is, I personally think, so important, not only now in the current global climate, but in marketing as a whole.
Like it. Yeah, really interesting. I mean, it's deeply communicative, isn't it, humour?
Absolutely, because it requires two people. You can be sad on your own, and you can be angry on your own, but to have a laugh, you need to have an exchange with another person. And I think that's what makes it so visceral, if you know what I mean. It's a very like I say, a very human connection. If you can build a human connection between a brand and a person, that you're pretty much all the way there already. So to me, it's always felt like, if you have the opportunity to do something funny, it's worth taking that risk, because if it flops, then fine, it flops, and you don't get the outcome that you wanted. But if it works, then you've got, as I said, that little kind of real estate in someone's mind going forward for potentially the longest period of time. So yeah, it's a very, like you say, it's a very human thing. It does require a dialogue rather than just being told something.
Yeah, excellent. And what might our audience have walked away thinking, or what actionable might they have gone away thinking, right, I'm going to work on that in a collaborative sense, really? How might this concept, this idea of of adding humour to your work, how could you apply that, do you think?
I mean, aside from the fact that they might have thought, oh gosh, she wasn't actually a horse. That was just in the bio. If only she could live her dream. I think in terms of being funny though, and again, this is directly related to what I was talking about collaboration just now with you, is if you'd like to do something funny, but maybe you don't feel like you have the capacity to do that, why not look outside of your immediate sphere? My God, I mean, we've had, I definitely was, even though I am a comedian, I've worked with other comedians before on scripts, on TV scripts, on radio scripts, on just general idea generation to try and make something a little bit more funny. I always thought it was great I watched In the Thick of It before, the drama on the Beeb. Anyway, they have a script writer and then they have a swear writer, so the sweary funny person then takes that script and then adds all of the kind of blasphemous humour that it's well known for now afterwards. But that's what I mean.
We've got swear writers called Andy.
Andy, yeah. I thought that it was him. I thought that he'd be good at that. But like I say, it's just about recognising where there is opportunity, where you think that you can do things on your own, or potentially where you might need some help. And then, like I say, not being afraid to acknowledge that and reach out to other people, but certainly don't limit yourself to the tiny bubble really that is advertising and marketing, when you could reach out to other writers, other comedians, other creatives who are just working in slightly different spheres. There's no reason why those two worlds can't collide, in my opinion.
Yeah, like it. That's great. Olivia, it's a shame we didn't get to hear your full presentation.
My dulcet tones. I was so looking forward to it as well. I love the Royal Exchange. It's a gorgeous venue. I'm around the corner from some of my favourite bars, actually. But in August, we can walk those paths again.
Yeah, we had plenty of bars lined up for afterwards. We will get something sorted out. This is going to happen, and we really, really look forward to you being involved when it does, because you're great. And, onwards and upwards, eh?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Cool. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Hopefully see you soon.